So just to the viewer, I lived in Australia from 2000 or from 98 to 2000. It's actually where I started school, and it's basically where my memories that I can really remember start, especially because it was such a dramatic experience going across the world. I definitely remember Australia. And then my mission in Germany, and then I actually went back in the summer of 2015 and did an internship there and lived in Munich, which was outside of Frankfurt. But Australia, comparing Germany and Australia, I mean, if you think the United States and Germany are different, let's just take Australia and Germany together for a second, because Australia, you have from everything to climate, the seasons are backwards, and the driver's wheel of the car is on the other side. So it's not gonna be that drastically different as far as things like that in Germany. If you're from Utah, Germany's weather is actually pretty comparable, besides maybe the amount of snowfall you get. But 4 seasons, definitely it's there. In Australia, they're about to head into winter right now, and it's March. Well, we're getting into spring and summer, so they're fall, winter. Australia also, the people, I would have to say, are a lot more friendly, and they come over and they just talk and talk and talk and talk. In Germany, people are very standoffish at first, but if you win a German over as a friend, they would do anything for you. And because I didn't live in Australia, maybe when I was an adult, it's probably the same way. But I just remember Australians being a lot more friendly, as far as like contact on the street, rather than compared to Germans. Houses in Germany are very different than anything here in America, and even from what I remember in Australia. So houses in Germany, it's all smaller and it's all more expensive. So a lot of people live in apartment complexes. You're wealthy if you own a house. That's just how it is. There's a lot of like dual homes, duplexes. But if you own a house, you're doing well in Germany. In Australia, I believe it was a little bit more like America, that you had suburbs and houses, and yeah, of course there's apartments everywhere, but I remember we lived in a house. So the cost of living, the euro to the Australian dollar, both Australia and Germany's economy is one of the strongest in the world. They're very socialistic, and I believe Australia is also going a little more socialistic, and I would have to say they're pretty comparable cost of living. Maybe I think you can get away with more with the Australian dollar than you can with the euro in Germany. So I believe the exchange rate's in the Australians' favor at the moment. So in Germany, especially the schooling system, they would have, it's really different. They really try to funnel you in earlier in age. And in America, we have kind of systems where we kind of have the freedom of choosing when we're in college. In Germany, it's not the case. You are funneled out even through like the equivalent of junior high into your college material, or you're not. And so that was really interesting. I never got that far in Australia to really know the difference. I remember Australia's schools were actually pretty similar to the schools I went to in America. The differences between maybe German and Australian schools in Australia, I remember we always had to wear uniforms. So, and hats every time we went out because it was so hot. We had to wear these hats that had like these neck flaps that covered the back of your neck, just so you didn't get roasted. There's also not as many bugs in Germany as there were in Australia. There's a lot bigger bugs and spiders in Australia, so if you have a spider fetish, don't worry, you're not going to Australia if you're going to Germany. If you are afraid of spiders, Australia is a little bit more a place you might want to watch out for. People's education in Australia, I feel like, Germany, really what hit me with Germany is they become so socialistic, and this was a problem I actually saw. I'm not trying to infuse politics into this, but this is just something I noticed while I was there, is that they would pay you for how many kids you have. And so people could have more money staying home just by having like 5 kids than going out and getting a job. So a lot of people would just stay home and kind of freeload off the system. And it was a problem, especially when people tried to join the church, because the church requires action. And initiative. And if people weren't like that before, it was very hard for them to contribute and to change and to join. Australia, from what my memories were, wasn't as much this way, but that's something I began to see in Germany. Just living in Australia, of course, there's a lot of places you can travel, like the Great Barrier Reef. Inside Australia, maybe like New Zealand. Germany, after living there, one of the greatest benefits is being able to travel in Europe for very cheap. So, I mean, I flew to Rome for like €75, which is like $90, and that's round trip. I think that was probably one of the biggest differences. Is Germany, you can get around a lot easier than I remember in Australia.